Well, it's good to see everybody right on time at 10:35. That's not right on time, by the way. Good morning. Welcome to Pacific Unitarian Church. My name is Gary Hart, and I will be your worship associate today as we seek to represent progressive religious thought and anti-racism practices in the South Bay. And in case you didn't notice, last night was the same length as today. Think of the odds. If you're new here today, we want you to know we have childcare for preschoolers, religious education for school-age kids, and religious education will begin after the children's moment. Now it's time for our chalice lighting. Today's chalice lighting words were adopted from Sharon Wiley. The hours of day and night are in balance, and we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the four directions: earth, air, fire, and water. The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself is the symbol of water. We light our chalice and reflect on the balance we seek in our lives, the balance we seek in our hearts, and the balance we seek in our world. And now for everyone's favorite part, we have announcements. Next week, we'll be having a split plate. We'll split with Clue, organization we've worked with quite a bit over the years to help the economically disadvantaged. So we have a split plate next week. And Barbara Marriott, where did you go, Barbara? Hop on up here. Barbara Marriott wants to make an announcement for those of you whose laundry is still wet.
Yeah. So I got the laundry sheets again, 60 loads of laundry, $12, no jug. The other thing is, I had 200 stamps left over, brought postcards, so I ordered 200 more postcards to go with it.
Get out the vote. Thank you, Barbara. I want to thank Lisa Seitz and Sylvia and Naresh for the flowers today. Dee and I, thank you. Ooh, and even the cornucopia that's arriving. Coincidentally, that's lunch today for $5. Now it's time for our chalice lighting. We did that already. Yeah. Let's do it again. It was so good. It's good. It's good. We'll do it twice. All right. Thank you. Now it's Pastor Joshua's turn.
Thank you. All right. Now our third chalice lighting today. No, just kidding. Welcome, everybody. I'm Pastor Joshua, and I just have to say how I'm sitting there. No, please. Please, stop. No. I just want to say how I'm sitting there feeling so grateful for all of you, for the wonderful scenery and nature and the weather, and there's just so much gratitude in my heart sitting there, and I just had to share that with you before I gave my opening words. And thank you, Gary, thank you, Severin and Michael. These opening words are by Amy Schmidt, is her name, and she wrote them in memory of Mary Oliver, the poet. And they go, "It's impossible to be lonely when you're zesting an orange. You see, you scrape the soft rind once, and the whole room fills with fruit. Look around. You have more than enough. Always have. You just didn't notice until now." And with that, or maybe you did notice, with that, please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, which is number 355. We lift our heart in thanks.
Here we go. We lift our hearts in thanks today for all the gifts of life, and first for peace that turned away the enmities of strife, and next the beauty of its flowers and lovely things, the spring's great miracle of birth, with sound of songs and wings. Then harvest of the teeming soil in orchard, croft, and field, but more the service of the toil of those who help them yield, and most the gift of hope and love, of wisdom, truth, and right, the gifts that shine like stars above to chart the world by night.
Now, Kara Craig with our Moment for All Ages story.
I'd like to invite anyone who would like to come up, kids or young at heart. I'll sit right here.
Oh, wow. I'm excited for all the goodies.
Okay, today I'm going to tell a story about a fox who steals the dark. For many years, we took darkness for granted and thought light was the most precious thing that could be lost. So as winter approached, we feared the arrival of the long night and hoped for the return of light. When the spring came and the balance shifted, we celebrated the return of the light. We sang songs of praise and dances of joy. We told stories of its wonder. We painted it on paper and canvas and the walls of our most holy places. We saw darkness as nothing but absence, something to be feared, hated, or endured, never appreciated or celebrated. We believed that it was our job to protect ourselves from darkness, not to protect darkness. We thought darkness could not be lost, but we were wrong. We didn't notice the damage we were doing to darkness, but others did. The creatures of the night, like Fox, who was the most active at dawn and dusk, the time between night and day. Fox became alarmed at the harm we were causing darkness. But Fox is cunning and tricky, so she decided to watch. Fox saw that we celebrated light and saw how we thought it vulnerable and precious and saw darkness as of little worth. And Fox realized the only way we would understand the importance of darkness was if it disappeared entirely. So one day at noon, when darkness was as small as it could be and curled up, and the light was pouring across the land, Fox came and stole darkness and hid it away in a sack and took it back to its cave. And then Fox took it out of the sack in its cave, and then the darkness, it just enveloped everything. It was everywhere. And Fox couldn't see anything behind all this darkness. But Fox knew that darkness needed to rest and to recover. And Fox promised to do everything she could to heal the darkness. Fox began to tell stories about the wonders of darkness and sing songs about the gifts of darkness and do dances for darkness. And darkness started to feel a little bit better. Now, we knew nothing about this at the time. We knew that one day, suddenly, the light got even brighter, a brightness that stayed long after darkness should have fallen for the night. We had done it. We had conquered darkness, and we celebrated. Yay. We sang songs and dances, and we had feasts that went on for days. But then people began to get sick. We were drained of our energy, and yet we couldn't even sleep. The trees wilted, and the grains in the field withered. The animals lost their energy, just like we did. As we lay there, unable to do much of anything, we realized our mistake. We had fought against the darkness. thinking it was the enemy, only to realize that we had destroyed a vital friend. We wept with remorse and sadness. After 12 days of blazing, unrelenting light, Fox returned the darkness, and people rejoiced. And they were so happy. They received, it was the best gift they had ever received. It was the gift of rest and renewal and healing. And as we slowly recovered, we began to honor the darkness with songs and dance and art. We created images in the darkness in paint and glass and cloth. We told stories of its beauty, its gifts. We loved it, and the darkness healed, and balance returned. And now we still love the dark, but we know that the darkness is just as important. And so we love it with all the awe that our hearts can hold. The end.
You. And thank you.
Go now in peace. Go
Now in peace, may the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Now it's time for our joys and sorrows. We share our good and bad times in our ritual of joy and sorrows. We share these very personal messages so that we can comfort and help each other as well as be comforted and helped by others. If you would like, you may come forward and light a candle or with a brief verbal expression of a special joy or sorrow. Come on up here.
It's courageous to share. It's also courageous to hold in your heart joys and sorrows. And we know there are so many held in hearts that are unspoken. And so I'm going to light one more candle for all those that were shared and for all those that remain unspoken. We'll conclude our joys and sorrows with a short prayer. A chaplain friend of mine who I worked at Children's Hospital wrote this amazing essay, and at the end she included this meditation prayer, and as soon as I saw it, I wanted to share it. It's called For the Ones Who Bear Witness. We're grateful for everyone who's bearing witness to these joys and sorrows. So For the Ones Who Bear Witness by Kate Bowler and Jessica Ritchie. Blessed are the noticers, the ones who see the story in its fullness. Blessed are the attenders, the witness bearers, the story holders, the ones who tiptoe to the edge right alongside us, knowing that that very act will break their hearts in pieces too, choosing us anyway. Blessed are those who are amazed by a life lived in its fragility, in its brevity, in its beauty. Blessed are the ones who stand close enough to say, behold. I'm going to talk a little bit, very briefly, about what you see here and what you will see outside. It is the autumn equinox. In the pagan and the Wiccan traditions, that is a Sabbat, or a festival called Mabon, and there's information about that on the tables. And there's all kinds of symbols of the harvest, fruits and herbs and vegetables and gems and colors, a cornucopia of things that represent gratitude and patience and balance, like Kara talked about, balance between light and dark, balance between all manner of things. So for our ritual today, I'd like us to sit here for a few minutes and contemplate what we're grateful about. A significant part of celebrating the autumn equinox is offering gratitude for what we have. So we'll sit in silence for a few minutes and consider that. And then after the service, there are going to be little sheets of paper and writing implements on the tables set out for lunch, which I hope you'll join us. Even if you don't, please feel free to write something down. And what I'd like all of us to do is write down what we are grateful for. And there's a gratitude tree sitting out by the entrance, and we will tie those things to the gratitude tree. Place it on the tree we set up for all to also share in our gratitude. So let us now meditate for a couple minutes on what we're grateful for. Please join us, you don't need to rise this time, for our centering hymn. Number 15, The Lone Wild Bird.
The lone wild bird in lofty flight is still with thee, nor leaves thy side. And I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in me. The ends of the earth are in thy hand, the seas dark deep and far of land. And I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in me. Great Spirit, come and rest in me.
Unfortunately, most of the world lives with what's called a scarcity mindset, tipping the scales towards these types of human tragedies all over the world, not just Moscow. So shifting then to an abundance mindset is what is necessary to tip the scales in the opposite direction, towards supporting all life and all life's ability to survive and to thrive. So what is an abundance mindset? Well, some people, including myself, at one time thought it meant something like imagining an abundance of something that we think we want or that we think we need, but we don't currently have, in order to manifest those things in our lives, which is still powerful. Unfortunately, this usually includes things like money or possessions or what the Western world deems success. I might envision myself with $1 million and a mansion and a yacht, for instance, in order to manifest those things, falsely believing that I want or that I need them. That is not what I mean by an abundance mindset. I am not here today preaching prosperity gospel. The pray and you will get it method, although prayer can be powerful, I will say that, but pray and you will get it method, it doesn't focus us on abundance because it directs our mind to what we don't have. I put this pin here to hold up the thing and it doesn't seem to be working. Anyway, but I'm grateful for this. Anyway, it focuses on abundance because it directs our mind to what we don't have. It is actually a scarcity mindset which leads us to ignore and appreciate the things in the present moment. If I don't currently have a yacht, for example, how do I know how I'll feel about owning one? How can I know what I want if I don't appreciate and enjoy what I have? Also, wanting something we don't have usually means that when you get it, you likely want something more. This false desire stems from an imagined sense of fulfillment that you see down the road. You're imagining it includes some future time, doing things that you have never done, like lounging on sun-bathed decks while sipping champagne on the French Riviera. It doesn't, however, include upkeep expenses on the yacht or staffing issues on the yacht, for instance. So when I get the yacht and reality hits, I'll move on to wanting the next big, shiny thing. It won't necessarily fulfill me if I have a scarcity mindset. As Brené Brown says in her book, Daring Greatly, our Western culture is a culture of never enough. Well, an abundance mindset means considering that what we have now is abundantly what we need. Notice I did not say what I have now is enough. I said what we have is what we need in abundance. You see, having just enough also leaves me in a scarcity mindset because it requires that I am ever protective and ever selfish, which is a hallmark of a scarcity mindset, so that I don't lose what I have. Even if I have just enough, I will still want more, either as insurance or if someone has something that I don't, which is jealousy, another hallmark of a scarcity mindset. An abundance mindset, on the other hand, considers not just individual needs and fulfillment, but collective abundance. Meaning those around me also have an abundance in the sharing of resources. I may have a yacht and I may love it, but if I have an abundance mindset as well, that allows me to be grateful for that gift of the yacht, inclusive of all its benefits and of all its challenges. An abundance mindset means I act generously by sharing that wealth, by providing a livelihood for the staff of the yacht and a place for my friends and family to relax. Yes, I will admit, there are tons of things that we do not have. I know I was sitting here thinking about this. Well, there's so many things that I need, that I want, that I don't have. But there are also tons of things that we do have. And those include not only physical things, but emotional and spiritual gifts and blessing, tons and tons. We all have things that we can appreciate and be grateful for right now, in this minute. And we all have things that we can also give to others, just as others have what we need. So instead of trying to magically conjure something that we wish we had, an abundance mindset includes gratitude for the good things that are in our lives this and every moment. That is actually the prosperity gospel. That is the true path toward getting more of what actually brings us joy. At the PUC Finance Committee meeting the other day, get ready, a meeting where members, including myself as ex officio, have to utilize a super spiritual and emotional strength not to be sucked into the vortex of a scarcity mindset. I read those words by Amy Schmidt about the zesting of the orange that I opened worship with. I read them to close the meeting. It's impossible to be lonely when you're zesting an orange. You remember it. The whole room fills with fruit. Look around you. You have more than enough. And the author, Wayne Dyer, said that abundance is not something we acquire. It is something that we tune into. In other words, it's always there. Realizing that is the abundance mindset. So we celebrate abundance today at the turn of the seasons, from summer to autumn. So let's consider nature for a moment and how it teaches us these lessons of collective abundance. So a forest, for example, a forest is not just a grouping of individual trees and plants and animals worried that they each don't get enough sun or water or food, and they're trying to collect all the resources they can before some of the other trees and animals get them. No, on the contrary, resources in the forest are shared. Even animals like squirrels, you may say, well, they hoard nuts. They literally hoard nuts. But they don't end up finding a large percentage when they're ready to eat them. They don't remember where they are, maybe about 40% of them. Which then, of course, they always know where the picnics are, where we're having food, anyway. Which then leaves huge storehouses of nuts to feed other animals. And the nuts they do eat leave shells and fragments and produce waste that feeds the forest even more. The growth of life. There we go. You were probably all looking at me like, that is so unbalanced. And I didn't even notice. Okay. Talking about balance. And the growth of life feeds and protects other life with nourishment or habitat creation in nature, just as the death in nature of organisms composts into sustenance for others. Networks of animals and plants, like the trees and their mycelium underneath, facilitate communication and distribution of resources so that all life in the forest survives and thrives. If resources were kept to a single organism, the entire ecosystem would collapse, and that single organism, regardless of all the stuff that it had, would lose the network it needed to survive itself. Can you imagine what would happen if 1% of the forest population owned over half the world's natural resources? I mean, not only would the 99% not be able to survive, but the 1% would eventually lose the support they need too. It's not sustainable. There must be reciprocity and balance for life to continue. And what's more, consider the diversity of the natural world. Just the diversity of the natural world is amazing. Dr. Kathleen Allen, who wrote the book Leading from the Roots, points out that as ecosystems evolve in nature, they become more diverse. And this diversity creates more resources, not less. Luckily, nature is smarter than humankind and teaches us these valuable lessons if we would only listen. Nothing in nature lives for itself. Rivers don't drink their own water. Trees don't eat their own fruits. The sun doesn't shine for itself. A flower's fragrance is not for itself. Living for each other is nature's rule. And an abundance mindset does not mean an abundance mindset does not mean a race to become the richest person, but rather a consideration to balance resources so that there is an abundance for all. Balance, another prominent theme of the autumn equinox, is an important quality of an abundance mindset. Lastly, a vital aspect of an abundance mindset is patience. Hold on, I'll get to it. Kidding. We constantly hear the word race associated with a scarcity mindset. The race to the moon, the arms race, the race to become the first this or the greatest that or the bigliest this or whatever. Well, consider the single-celled microorganisms that evolved into human life. I doubt one of them ever said to the other, "Hey, Bob," imagine that's a microorganism name, I love that name, "I'm going to become human before you do." In fact, neither of them could have known that life would evolve to what we have today because, well, they didn't have brains, but also our current evolution happened over almost 4 billion years. Nature is patient. If those two single-celled organisms, Bob and Edna, had not been patient, if they had rushed it, well, their lack of brains, their lack of limbs, their lack of more than one cell, or even their lack of the most basic smartphone technology, wouldn't have gotten them very far. They had to be patient. Yet we have become so impatient that we curse when our current iteration of smartphone doesn't upload a website in under 2 seconds. Damn it, what's taking so long? With a combination then of gratitude for the fact that such inconceivably quick communication even exists, and patience for the things that truly, truly matter, we will have everything we need and more. The philosopher Lao Tzu famously said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." So the reason, I'm going back to the story in Moscow. One of the reasons this person I met in Moscow was left to freeze is not that he didn't have an abundance mindset. He had nothing. The problem was he likely couldn't even, when I asked if he needed help, couldn't even comprehend that someone would be sincere in their offer to help him, given society is so selfish in many ways. And not just in Russia, I'm talking about everywhere. It doesn't make sense, it didn't make sense to him, and it doesn't make sense to me, that so many that provide help, it doesn't make sense to so many in our society that providing help benefits the helper as much as the helped. Of course, this person didn't have what he needed to survive, and his mindset alone was not going to change that. It seemed he knew that neither giving him money, which he said to burn, or guiding him into the warmer subway, which he already knew, neither of those things would lead to his salvation. He knew that. It might make him more comfortable for a while, but ultimately it would do him no long-term good. It's a larger problem. And I believe we can still do what was too late to save this man, but what the world absolutely needs to save us all. And that thing is to move from a mindset that denies others resources, selfishly denies others resources, one in which ingratitude and selfishness generate scarcity that will eventually find more and more people freezing to death in the cold of night, to a mindset of abundance, where we recognize that resources must be shared to support us all with abundance. And in Unitarian Universalism, our law of service, our covenant, our work of service includes modeling that for the larger community. It may be that we need more money in this congregation for programs, or we want a more robust religious education program, higher attendance, like all congregations want more of this, that, and the other thing. However, we can only get these things by first being grateful for what we already have, which is a lot, and recognizing that we depend on each other and will only achieve what we desire with a generosity that involves sharing and receiving resources, and the patience to allow the evolution, what that will bring, the evolution of what an abundance mindset, inclusive of generosity, inclusive of gratitude and kindness, welcoming of diversity and patience and humility, the patience to wait for what that will certainly bring. The charity that I want to talk about, I'm associating my sermons with a charity, and we'll see if I can do it with everyone, maybe a few, is called the Poor People's Campaign today, if anyone's ever heard of it. And it frames poor people, issues of wealth disparity morally, which is a great framing. And it's at poorpeoplescampaign.org. So I encourage you all to check that out. And in honor of balance and gratitude, our wonderful staff and volunteers have prepared outside symbols of the season. And you can look up Mabon, M-A-B-O-N, or the autumn equinox and see what all these symbols mean. Colors and gems and fruits and herbs. They're on the table, so there's a little information packet. And what I'd like all of us to do when we go out, as I said before, there should be also paper and implements to write what we're grateful for. If there's not, we'll get some. And then there's a tree at the beginning, a memorial tree in honor of, please read the sign. I don't remember who it's in honor of, but it's very important that it's a memorial tree, and I apologize for not knowing the name. But it is our gratitude tree, and we will hang those pieces of paper for what we're grateful for on the gratitude tree.
Well, I love it when everything fits together. Speaking of the abundance mindset, it's time for offertory. And I want to thank everybody who's given me feedback for the little stories I tell, but I'm going to tell another one anyway. Here's another untrue story that never happened. A fellow Unitarian died recently, and to his surprise, found himself in front of St. Peter at the pearly gates. So St. Peter explained, "Since you're Unitarian, it might not be easy to get you into heaven. Have you done any really good deeds that would qualify you for entry?" The man stops and thinks for a minute and says, "Well, I did help this young lady once. I came out of a store and saw a dozen Hell's Angels had taken her purse and were shoving her around. I threw my bags down and grabbed her purse back. Then I told the biggest biker there that he was cowardly, and I slapped him in the face, and I kicked his Harley to the ground." "Wow," said St. Peter, "that's impressive enough. When did that happen?" "Oh, about 15 minutes ago," the man replied. Give generously, you never know how long you have.
Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us also be grateful ever for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. So, thank you so much again, Michael and Severance. And now, please rise, dance, skip, or however you are able to celebrate our closing hymn in body or spirit, number 164, an oldie but a goodie, Blue Boat Home.
Grab onto somebody if you would like. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us, forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts, now and forever. So be it. Amen. Shalom, salam, namaste, and blessed be. And now our service truly begins. Please be seated and enjoy the postlude. tell them about lunch?
What?
About lunch?
I'm going to tell them about Vic Toyota tree. I'm going to tell
That's what?
The tree is for Vic Toyota. I'm going to tell
Thank you. And let them know about lunch too.
Okay. All right, everybody, lunch out there, $5, free for new people. All right, lunch, $5, free for new people. And by the way,